Usually in tech, you compete. You don't complement. And I think that's the beauty about the relations between Israel and India in the tech space. Israel is deep tech first, meaning we are always trying to design for the future. Very strong tech infrastructure, saturation from younger age, closer circle of actions. India is developing at scale. All the innovation that you see is coming to cater for a 1 billion population size. Especially in Israel, most of the people that you see are somehow connected to the tech ecosystem. It's part of their DNA. The startup nation, working very fast, this agility to work across borders. So the tech ecosystem makes a lot of sense. Israel is opening its doors to having more Indian companies coming, more Indian stakeholders to be able to do perhaps part of our work on railways and some of our government infrastructure. Sovereign AI, it's again up to be, I think, the next Indian unicorn. We're already seeing the estimations as well. And I also really hope to see the next Israeli Blinkit. Blinkit is everything to me and to everyone who lives in India. This is probably one of the most interesting and pioneering delivery apps of the country. You can get everything that you want in a matter of seconds. Of course, it uses a lot of AI as well, and that's something that people usually don't understand. For me, living in India was one of the biggest gifts I could have given to myself. AI is tech, but AI is more than this.
Yeah.
It's a new philosophy that really transformed the way that we're thinking of innovation.
Israel is known to be the startup nation, and India is currently building the largest tech ecosystems. But think about when India and Israel come together and build ecosystems together. Namaskar, shalom and welcome. My name is Ravital Moses, aka Moses in Israel, your favorite Indian Jew, born and raised in India and now living in Israel. And my goal is to bridge India and Israel one video at a time. And today we have somebody who is Israeli, who has worked on Indian soil and actively worked towards getting the Indian and the Israeli tech ecosystems together. The one and only Maya Sherman. Did I say that right?
Perfectly well.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are kind of in the middle of the war, but we still managed to have this interview. So let me give Maya an introduction. Maya Sherman has served as the attaché at the Israeli embassy in India, where she led technology partnerships between the Israeli and the Indian startup ecosystem. Her work had focused on building bridges between Indian and the Israeli ecosystems, connecting startups, policymakers, and industry leaders across India and Israel. She has closely been involved in shaping conversations around AI partnerships, including initiatives highlighted during Prime Minister Modi's recent engagements and bilateral innovation efforts. Most recently, she's also been part of the Impact Summit, helping drive dialogue on how emerging technologies can create real-world impact across borders. Oh my gosh, Maya, we have so much to discuss. So let's begin. You were in India for about 3 years. You just came back.
True.
First things first, what do you miss about India?
Everything. Wow. I think that, first of all, my friends. I mean, it's been such an amazing time to be with so many amazing friends all around.
Mm-hmm.
The food as well. And I mean, there are some phenomenal restaurants, Indian restaurants in Tel Aviv as well, but it's not the same. So
I agree.
Mix of people and food, I guess.
Okay. Everybody talks about India. It's people and food. So you gave the right answer. But now coming to technology, first of all, I want to learn about how you got into the tech ecosystem, because was it planned for you or was it accidental? And how did you end up in India?
So for me, I think it's been a very interesting journey. First of all, I've always been more connected actually to tech work in Latin America. So growing up, I was working a lot on cybersecurity startups connecting Israel and Latin America. I actually grew much more on the Latin series and soap operas. I speak Spanish quite well thanks to this. And I started working afterward. And I think especially in Israel, most of the people that you see are somehow connected to the tech ecosystem. It's part of their DNA. The startup nation, working very fast, this agility to work across borders. So the tech ecosystem makes a lot of sense. And I always grew up in startups trying to see how I can connect Israel to additional countries. But I would say that for me, this kind of defining moment was when I moved to the UK. And in Oxford, I did my master's over there. And for me, it was the first time that I was exposed a bit more to the Indian tech ecosystem through a lot of my friends who came from India. And I heard from them for the first time on climate technology developed over there, on UPI, generally the way that the tech ecosystem is being designed over there. And it inspired me to try and see, okay, maybe I can be part of this, because I was always this kind of tech practitioner who's trying to see how we can solve problems using innovation, not just trying to speak about them. And that's what drove me. And I guess one thing led to the other. And after the UK, I joined climate NGOs in India and trying to design their AI transformation, got appointed by the OECD and GPI to be the AI expert to the Future of Work Committee. And then I moved to Delhi and started my journey over there. It's been a very special and unexpected journey in a way.
Such good work. There's nothing without social media, because I know I live in Israel. You were physically in India. So the only way to know what's actually happening in India is through social media. And
also in Israel, by the way. I think we are very similar in this regard.
So in that case, because you've been so involved in the tech ecosystems, I would love to know, as an Israeli who's been in India and spent so much time with the tech ecosystems, what are some things that you see that are, what are the differences between the Israeli tech ecosystem and the Indian tech ecosystem, and what they could learn from each other?
So there are so many things that I feel are complementing between the ecosystem. And I'm saying it because it's kind of rare. Usually in tech, you compete. You don't complement. And I think that's the beauty about the relations between Israel and India in the tech space. Israel is deep tech first, meaning we are always trying to design for the future. Very strong tech infrastructure, saturation from younger age, closer circle of actions. It always made our startup ecosystem very leading, very strong, being able to connect faster to funding opportunities outside of Israel, and more than anything, being able to create for the world. India is a whole different story, and an amazing one when you're thinking of the scale of it. India is developing at scale. All the innovation that you see is coming to cater for a 1 billion population size. This is something that is unprecedented, and you're seeing this. So if you're asking me what's special about it, is first of all, you don't see many countries that are able to develop and create technology at such scale. Think of the diversity by design. Think of the linguistic modification. These are things that India is, I would say, very unique at. A lot of the, I would say, international players are currently looking at the way that India is developing its AI models, the way it's able to design its tech ecosystem. And I think it's a lot because India is spearheading this notion that tech is a public infrastructure. So DPI and inclusive by design, these are things that I would say India is excelling at. Quite different in the way that we are seeing it, because we are trying to, I would say, design a bit more futuristically, not necessarily just for Israel. Now, these are exactly the thing that each country can take from each other. So if India is excelling in creating technology for the masses, pilots at scale, inclusivity first, Israel is coming from a different angle. Very high saturation of startups, deep tech first, trying to go for the future. And the mix is amazing, because you're taking two nations that are actually complementing each other. And that's why we're seeing much more tech collaboration between the countries in an era that is not necessarily characterized by tech collaborations because of all the crises that we're seeing all around and all the mess that is all over.
I was going to say, that was actually my follow-up question. Have you seen, or actually you did, but I would love to know if there's any examples of tech collaborations, which means, is there a company that has been formed with an Indian founder and an Israeli founder as co-founders, or let's say with the Israeli tech and Indian talent? Would you be able to give us some examples? To understand that, okay, like we don't see it, but it's happening and you will see it online very soon?
So first of all, there are things that are still ongoing and I cannot mention. But I would say briefly, first of all, we have some phenomenal mechanisms between the governments of both countries to be able to facilitate this. One of the biggest examples is I4F. This is a joint Israel and India mechanism that the entire point is to connect Israel and Indian startups to work together. And it's a wonderful government mechanism. And G2G in the end help us create a lot of bridges and democratize the process. So we do have already some very interesting success stories of companies that work together, a lot of investment that were gotten. There's so many, actually quite interestingly, we have some phenomenal, big Indian pilot that Israeli companies were able to take. The other way around, you would see that also Israel, and it's quite rare for us because, again, as a country, I would say, we are keeping our assets close to ourselves, as every country does. But you will see, especially in the recent declaration, that Israel is opening its doors to having more Indian companies coming, more Indian stakeholders to be able to do perhaps part of our work on railways and some of our government infrastructure. The reason is that there is a big trust in the relation and a big trust in the way that the Indian ecosystem has built itself with a lot of efforts over the years. And with the same way, the way that Israel was able to tackle a lot of challenges as well into becoming the startup nation that it is. So I would say, first of all, IFRF is a great example. We have already a lot of government pilots of both countries that different private actors are going into. But if you're asking me, it's also about the B2B, the people interaction that we're seeing in the tech ecosystem. A lot of the work that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is doing in the sense of bringing Indian experts to Israel to be able to get more involved in the ecosystem, whether it's in academia, in startup, the other way around, the way that we're able to bring Israeli experts to India in a hybrid way sometimes. And, I think the beauty is that it's not obvious when you're thinking of it. I'm not even talking about the fact that the countries are very different. We are still in times of crisis. I moved to India on October 1st, 2023. I had no idea what will happen. I had 1 week of being happy. Okay, I made it. But think of it that having this kind of bilateral engagement and expert exchange during war, it's mission impossible. And yet the relations have grown to such extent that we're still able to keep this, whether it's in person, whether it's hybrid. And that's a beauty. And I'm not even talking about the fact that, of course, we have such an important Indian diaspora in Israel, which will be growing as well. And of course, we have so many Israelis in India as well. But the beauty is that we are seeing how these people-to-people connections are also strengthening and growing and expanding in the tech ecosystem. And there, where I think we're just able to make this friendship into something that's more profitable, more scalable, and more business-oriented.
Got it. I actually met some Indians who work in the tech ecosystem at Cybertech this year.
Oh,
so it's very happy to
fabulous.
see them. And I also heard, of course, Checkpoint is doing a lot more in India, right? They open their offices, a lot more talent there.
Mobileye has
Yes.
expanded significantly. IDE technologies. I'm not even talking about, that's the thing, there's so many things that are just not out there all the time. But we have dozens of center of excellency on agriculture that again are, I guess, executed and maintained by Israeli experts in India. There is an upcoming also center of excellence of a company called of Quantum in Israel that will also be in Bangalore. There are plenty of things. And I think, the future is still, again, very bright. And the beauty is if we're able to do this during crisis, imagine what we'll be able to do during routine. And it's a teamwork. It's not necessarily an easy task to do, but a lot of things are happening. Some of them can be already published. Some of them are not. But more things to come, especially after the visit of Prime Minister Sherman Narendra Modi in Israel.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. You were telling me off camera just before we hit record that you were telling me they signed about 16 tech agreements. Can you sort of elaborate on what these entail? What does it mean for people who are in the tech ecosystem or interested to get into it, or how they can be a part of it? Can you tell us more?
I think a fascinating one for everyone in the tech ecosystem of both countries because so many new domains. Now, people will come and say, okay, this is an agreement. And then what? Any tech collaboration, especially when it comes to G2G, require this kind of an infrastructure, meaning we need this kind of initial agreement coming and saying, this is what we're able to do. These are the steps that we're going to go into. So this is very exciting. Some of the phenomenal ones are about AI and education agreement. We have another one about bilateral engagement between our AI directorate, which is still pretty new, under Prime Minister's office, and of course, Indian government as well, about doing better exchange around AI. We have a new agreement on Center of Excellence on agri-tech, on agriculture and innovation, which is for us also the next thing when we're thinking on the existing COEs that we have in India on agriculture. We're speaking about integrating AI technologies, Israeli AI technologies in them.
Let's break it down for the common people.
Yes.
When you say AI and education, like what does it mean? Does it mean that that schools are going to have AI technology in the system, or the governments are going to have AI systems that is going to help them evolve with the syllabus and stuff like that. I'm trying to understand like what in terms of how it is going to integrate for common people to understand.
Sure. So generally speaking, these agreements are supposed to set this kind of a broad infrastructure for us to operate. So it can be everything that you just said.
Okay.
It can be about integrating AI technologies in classroom. It can be about exchanging between the Ministry of Education of both countries to understand how AI can be implemented better. The thing is, there were a few things mentioned in this agreement. Some, of course, will be mentioned over there. The thing is first of all, to show this kind of intent to collaborate, to be able to build certain projects by different organizations. And I'm saying this because I know it sounds a bit vague or a bit broader for someone outside to listen to, but these agreements enable us to set the playground, meaning a lot of things are happening around the AI technologies in the education system in India and also in Israel.
Okay.
And we were trying to get this kind of exchanges before, but when things are formal, we can enable different entities to be part of it and have different execution processes as well. For instance, you would say that specifically this agreement was not talking about higher education. It was talking more about primary schools and other different education levels. And that's a beauty that hopefully will be able to bring more educational partners and more agreements. But these agreements are supposed to be initially, again, setting the broad frameworks to us to be able to fill in the right details. Okay, what kind of projects can we bring in? And this is in addition to existing projects already happening, whether we are, designing some education and AI programs between universities, whether we're bringing experts. So changes, but as a milestone, it's a big one.
Right. And we're very excited because I think this is the age of AI. When I say tech, I mean, it does include AI, but it's like AI and knowledge coming together is going to make more.
It's interesting when you're saying it because it's true, like AI is tech, but AI is more than this.
Yeah.
It's a new philosophy that really transformed the way that we're thinking of innovation. Now, is it the most technological one? No. But it's definitely, in my belief, probably the most transformative tech evolution that has happened to us because it just engaged everyone at once. So we can speak about AI in education, AI in podcasts.
Yeah.
We're just speaking about how this podcast room is just self-operating, and that's the beauty.
Yeah.
It's the future of work. It's skilling. That's why it's becoming so meaningful, especially for countries. The reason that we have AI agreements and they get so much importance between the countries, it's because AI is becoming so meaningful. So we are able to understand the current realities, understand the current power dynamics, and being able to go in the right directions for these countries.
I see. So let's come to India specifically. There's so many great technological advancements that are coming out of India.
True.
And it's hard to keep up sometimes. But as somebody
100%.
who was very much involved, would you like to throw some spotlight on maybe the top 3 technologies that are coming out, or maybe, they're very much in early stage, but people should bet on it, or Israeli investors should start looking at these technology companies and,
Sure.
It's going to be huge.
So first of all, there's so many and it's so hard to decide.
Top 3.
I feel, my God. I would say perhaps as an Israeli who lived in India, and I also really hope to see the next Israeli Blinkit. Blinkit is everything to me and to everyone who lives in India. This is probably one of the most interesting and pioneering delivery apps of the country. You can get everything that you want in a matter of seconds. Of course, it uses a lot of AI as well. And that's something that people usually don't understand. The reason that we are seeing such logistical apps are becoming so successful, it's because we're able to put AI in them. In the way that we are recommending products, we are optimizing value chains, we're able to enhance the proximity of delivery. So Blinkit is one. I urge all Israeli investors, please, let's make an Israeli Blinkit. I do miss it already whenever I'm in the country. But there are some other phenomenal ones, I think, that are definitely putting the Indian ecosystem aside from many other actors out there. First of all, is Sarvam AI. Sarvam AI, it's, again, up to be, I think, the next Indian unicorn. We're already seeing the estimations as well. This is the startup that was selected by the Indian government to develop the indigenous Indian models, the AI models. Now, this is big because, first of all, understand understanding a bit more the AI ecosystems, countries today are developing their indigenous models according to their local languages to be able to perform better. So, OpenAI started this kind of revolution. We had this kind of Anglo-Saxon models. They were not the best when it came to actually modification to other languages that are not English. And that's exactly where India is coming to the picture. I would say, of course, we also know DeepSeek in China. China was also trying to create this. The beautiful thing with India is that we have Startup AI, this startup selected, that is now developing AI models for more than 20 official languages. We're speaking about more than 900 non-official ones. This is giant, and especially because India is the largest democracy in the world. To see the impact it will have on the community, it will be massive. We're already seeing some pilots of the models. They're already out for the public. They are open source as well. And this is the beautiful thing. Perhaps briefly about that. Usually the AI ecosystem is not known for the strengths in open source. The reason that we're now seeing models that are open source is just showing the democratization of it. When something is open source, it means that everyone can access it, everyone can review it. It doesn't matter where you're from, where you're based. And that's the important thing about it. So Startup AI is probably one of the most spoken startups today in India, but there's so many others. We have Cure.ai. Cure.ai is doing Cure.ai, doing medical imaging, also using AI. Phenomenal work and execution. Again, very strong healthcare startup that we're seeing in India, very known as well
for diagnosis.
And again, AI is used in every possible way. The Israeli counterpart would be iDoc. They're quite, I feel, similar in the way that they're operating. But Cure.ai is very known, very successful in India as well, doing phenomenal work when it comes to disease diagnosis. A lot of healthcare innovation came after COVID-19. And especially, countries like India and Israel that, faced this pandemic in a way that required the tech ecosystems to think differently. It's always great to see this kind of healthcare innovations coming up.
I have a question.
Yes.
So Israel focuses more on defense and cyber. Similarly, not to say it doesn't focus on other industries, but what is the equivalent for India for that?
It's such an interesting question. I think it's the reason that we are focusing. It's hard to say. We are focusing sometimes more on that, or like we see perhaps greater successes over there because we have a problem there. But in the same time, I can also tell you that we have a lot of innovation coming from the water domain because we had a problem.
And agriculture.
India is working quite similarly. India design solutions based on the problem that it has. The reason that we're seeing such phenomenal delivery apps, such as Blinkit and Swiggy and all over, and that you have the ability to cater for masses is because India needs it. And India is a nation that, first of all, caters for the problem of the nation. We have 1 billion people, so the solutions are coming over there. So I think that perhaps the equivalent would be anything connected to digital public infrastructure, everything that can perhaps support the establishment of public assets. This can be value chain, it can be water, it can be agriculture. It doesn't mean that India does not have cybersecurity startups. It's just that the prism is a bit different. So, for us, our problem is, unfortunately, in many cases, a lot of security crises, very strong tech penetration. That means that also we'll have a lot of very strong hackers in-house and outside of Israel. So we need to be able to cater for that.
Yeah.
In India, I feel that, problems are, of course, very strong informal sector in the sense that, again, I think almost 90% of the economy in India is informal, meaning we have to be able to support them. So agriculture is a big thing. Skilling issues. There are gaps in the education system because of the size of the nation, linguistic modification. But that's the thing. You are seeing India is being able to work on these problems directly. Some people, and there was such an interesting discussion actually in India. I remember in one of the conferences of Startup India, Shri Piyush Goyal was saying that India is working mainly on delivery apps and China is working only on deep tech. And that brought such an interesting and nuanced discussion for many, in the ecosystem, whether India is going to the right direction, whether India is developing the right things. I think that, first of all, India is working on the problems that are relevant for Indians, and that's what made this ecosystem brilliant. What we're seeing now that India is also now developing for the world. And that's the beauty, that India managed to reach this kind of positioning that, okay, there are still a lot of problems to be solved, but the startup ecosystem is strong, is resilient. Now India is looking a bit more into solving problems of additional countries. We're seeing the way that UPI is integrated in other countries, whether it's, Singapore and Sierra Leone and Dubai. Actually, now in the agreements, we also spoke about bringing UPI to Israel. I'll be the happiest. It's the best thing on the planet. UPI, this financial interface that enables everyone to pay using a QR code. And in India, it's amazing because it's from the farmer, like in the most rural place, to the biggest techie in Bangalore. And that's the beauty of it.
Those were signed, right? Because
It's in the
process.
We spoke about it. When you have an agreement, it's great. So you're intending to do it. There is still time for implementation. It's true for any government agreement.
I see.
But we need this intent and this agreement to be able to move. So things sometimes can take time. But hopefully, I definitely, again, there are two things I really want to see here. One of them is Blinkit, and the other one would definitely be UPI, just to be able to pay better, for sure.
That's awesome. That's a good insight because, people often think that if you're not working on deep tech and cybersecurity and fintech, other tech, any kind of other tech is trivial. And that's so wrong because you need these first of all, technology at any point in time is not a waste. And every country has its own timeline. But if India needs public infrastructure, they're going to be working on that. Not to say that it is not working on defense. It is. It's just that there's more spotlight on that AI or tech ecosystem, poor to say. Just like Israel has more spotlight on defense and cyber.
In the end, you would see the most successful technologies out there. The best ones came out of a problem.
Yes.
There is no superior technology in terms of the technology. But that's the thing. Once you're able to cater for a specific problem and investors believe in the way it is scalable, then you're able to succeed. Now, it can be a water tech invention.
Mm-hmm.
It can be website platform. It can be cyber tech. It can be drones. The beauty of the tech ecosystem is it has to be a specific problem that you're solving. Something people will not invest for no reason, especially today, because actually with AI, you have so many inventions and so many technologies out there. And everyone can become, that's the beauty. We're kind of solving digital divide. Everyone can use technology today. So you have to be extra special. Mm-hmm. It makes us to be, I would say, much more high quality than what we used to be. And all of a sudden, we can all become developers just using prompts, which is disturbing perhaps to some, especially the techies originally. I find it to be phenomenal because we're just able to solve for much more problems out there.
And more
so
accessible.
No, I don't think that we should only look at deep tech. I think that what India is bringing to the world is also the understanding that, okay, there are different problems to be solved. We need to bring deep tech into all of these problems. It cannot just be, okay, deep tech is just quantum and space. And India is working for this as well as Israel. We also need to think, okay, now that, in times of crisis and wars, skilling in education system is a priority. We need to see much stronger at the companies. Mm-hmm. The work that has been done in India is phenomenal. In Israel, we are looking a lot on the work being done over there because India managed to AI skilling in a way that a lot of other countries did not manage to.
Right.
A lot thanks to the infrastructure that India has, the very strong human element of AI education, the penetration across stakeholders. So, similar to like small actors and small roles, it's the same about technology. There are no small problems. It's a question of timing, what technology you're using. It doesn't have to be the most sophisticated technology. It can sometimes be the right chatbot or the right prompt that will bring you the next 1 billion invention.
Got that. Let's get into I'm just curious to know the culture. I know in Israel, people joke about it because so many Americans joke about it. And I think the culture in India is similar. When you go to office, you wear formals in India. Whereas in Israel, you see everybody, including the founder sometimes, throw on a t-shirt, jeans, wear flip-flops, and they're still getting the job done. And also in Israel, one thing that I really liked is you don't really need a degree to be a founder or to do something unless you have the skills you're in. I think a lot of that is changing in India, but I know education or like a degree was so important in India while I grew up. And do you see a change coming there?
I tell you, I think it's something that I keep on thinking because if you're asking me what's the biggest change between the nations, it would be perhaps the thinking of hierarchy. So India is very hierarchical. I remember in the beginning, so in Israel, we have a very informal culture. We call people by their names,
Yeah.
first names. When I came to India initially and I called people by their first name, people looked at me as if I lost it completely. It took me some time to learn and also to just tell people that it's just the way that we speak sometimes. It's not because we don't respect people, just the way that we communicate. Now, after 3 years in India, I've become too formal in a way because, again, I'm working a lot with the government circles. Hierarchy also gives, I think, a lot of appreciation and just, you appreciate the way that you go into when you understand this kind of stairs that you have to go up. We have this in Israel, but I think what people sometimes don't understand is that because we have the army in a very young age, so hierarchy is imposed on us. I think that in many times afterwards, we're trying to defy it a bit. So it's like, okay, we had 2 years that we had to call someone a commander for 2 years for no reason, just because someone put them to command on us. And then afterwards, we are kind of defying gravity and becoming rebellious a bit. And then, India, education is key from a younger age. There is a way to call people. You cannot dress up the way that you want to.
Yeah.
And in Israel, you would see someone like Asaf Rappaport that, he's probably our biggest tech icon of all times. But he'll go in T-shirt to office.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty about the change.
Yeah.
And then how different the cultures are.
The cultures are.
So, I think currently I'm a bit in between. Is it changing in India? I think it's changing a bit. You are seeing certain cracks, perhaps, in the way. I mean, you have new public servants.
Yes.
It's a generational change.
Yes.
But yeah, still in the way that you're addressing people.
Yeah.
You can still feel the hierarchy. And it's a beautiful thing, actually.
Yeah.
I think, sometimes we should take a bit some of it because there is something very special about the way that that you're appreciating the elderly community. It's something that in Israel we can do a better job at.
I would actually second that because I grew up in India, so for me it was the opposite experience because I'm calling all my uncles and aunties and they're like, please call me by my first name, and I'm like, you did not tell me to call you that when I was younger, or if you were in India, you wouldn't have said that, but it's just the culture of the country. And,
True.
You have to be open to learning. What is something that Indians don't quite often understand about the Israeli tech ecosystem?
I think that usually, first of all, people don't understand how informal we are, but that we are very fast.
Yeah.
Informal, the way that we are informal is in many ways because we are very fast in the way that we react to things. We don't have time. It's just like we are coming to work. We don't delay. We say again, tachles. We are coming to do the job and we don't deal with the outside aspects in cases. I think another thing people don't understand about the tech ecosystem as a whole is the way that, humor is a big part of everything that we do. People sometimes, they don't understand, even why in times of crisis we still work and we trying to laugh and we go outside. It's a defense mechanism for us because if we don't laugh, we cry. And we have to keep on going when there are so many crises around.
Yes.
We need to perform. We need to do still whatever it takes to be okay, to cater for our families, for our loved ones. So humor and informality are just, I feel, again, they're part of our DNA that help us keep on going. Satire as well. I remember, even now, there are a lot of videos about, the Israelis in the shelters doing parties in Purim. And, a lot of my friends in India, they were like, Maya, what is this? And I'm like, listen, we need to survive. That's Israel. We need to make it work. Yeah, there are missiles on us. We don't know if we'll survive. At least we party.
Yeah.
And we enjoy life. And I think that's something that a lot, I would say in India, I get a lot of asked questions about because it's special, it's different. But it's who we are. We are resilient because not out of choice. We have to be.
We have to be. I agree. We are towards the end of this episode. I feel like we have so much to talk about, but you've spent 3 years in India, and we were just talking about how you're missing India and you love having Indian friends around. Would you like to give a message to the Indian audiences? Because my audience is majorly from India or Indians living in the diaspora. What would you like to tell them about just India, the culture, or because there are a lot of stereotypes about Indians as well. Is this something that you would like to share?
Sure. I think that, first of all, for me, living in India was one of the biggest gifts I could have given to myself. It's been a journey that started, 5 years ago when I was roaming Oxford and I just found myself surrounded by Indian scholars all around. There are a lot of biases in social media, a lot of very superficial things. You would see them all around. In the end, what matters is this human-to-human connection. Israel and India are very different. We don't look the same. We don't have the same food. We have completely different religions. We dress very differently. We dress up very differently. We are not as formal or informal. But in the end, it's the values that bring us together. And I think that, once you're putting people together in the same room and you're getting to learn about each other's culture and customs, things are better. I do see a very bright future for the connection between the countries. I'm glad that I had my small role in it, especially when it comes to tech and AI. And I think that, despite all the wars and the conflicts and the LPGs versus the other crises that we're seeing today, I feel that the true innovation comes from people connection. This is something that AI cannot replace. And I think it's definitely the tech ecosystems of countries like Israel and India that are bringing the change. Whether it's very deep tech, whether it's more human-centric, the power in this kind of exchange that help us think better, bridge this kind of boundary that we're usually seeing, and being able to connect the global north and south in ways that we still did not see up until now. And that's it, I guess. And hopefully for calmer days where we're able to fly directly to India and Israel, I'm definitely missing the direct flights between Israel and India, and I hope they'll be back very soon.
Well, I'm into that. Thank you for your words of wisdom and for your positive. Well, I don't know what to say, because you're also like, it's been more than a month in the war, and sometimes it's hard to see at the light at the end of the tunnel. But with people like you, we can keep more hope and more positive about, especially India and Israel. Thank you for your service in India. I want to say that. Thank you for everything that you've done. There's so much more to do. For people who want to get in touch with Maya, she's extremely friendly. Please get in touch with her through LinkedIn or
Everywhere.
I'm going to add her socials in the description. Go say hi. I also heard she is a really good mentor. So if you're looking out for,
and Bollywood experts, everyone who wants some Bollywood advice, to reach out.
That we are going to do for episode 2. But in the meantime, stay safe, watch the right content, and we'll see you next time.